Well, good afternoon and welcome. We are live from a Cardboard Mars base camp, believe it or not, in the COP26 car park, because they've obviously all cleared out and they've let us in. And if you'll believe that, you'll believe anything. You'll also believe anything when I tell you there's a Cardboard Mars model on the other side of the quay there as well. I am delighted to be here. I'm Nick Corsten. I'm just a dad. I'm on a mission to Mars to inspire 1 million children to aim higher than high. I can't pretend that Elon Musk didn't have something to do with that, because I think he's quite inspiring. He's done some interesting stuff, and there's one of his starships over there. But what's really, really exciting today is that we've actually got 4 incredible people. We're actually in Lisbon in Northern Ireland, where I am, but you're going to find out where they are, because I've got some incredible guests here. We've got a wonderful lady here who I'd like to kick off with, Noelle McAlinden. Noelle is just a superstar from what I can see, a superstar energy of driving force. Noelle, can you hear me? This is the $1 million question with my system. Can you hear me okay there?
I can hear you, Nick. It's a pleasure to be here on your show virtually from the island town of Enniskillen in County Fermanagh in the north of Ireland.
Fantastic. So you're in Enniskillen there, are you?
Yes.
And we're in Lisbon. I must admit, it's been a bit of a flying visit for me here, actually. I've only been to Northern Ireland this one time, actually. So it's a bit we arrived last night about 4 o'clock, went straight down to the Titanic to have a look at that show, missed that. And then found ourselves a campsite, but here we are. But this is more than made up for it. So, Noelle, I'd be very grateful, actually, if you could maybe introduce the people that you've brought together today, because I think this is just remarkable what you've done.
Yes, well, I know that I'm very conscious it's very short notice, and I know you were in a flying visit and you're currently with Harmony Hill Primary School, but I thought it was really important to acknowledge that the West is very important here, because in the north of Ireland we have a lot of very creative people doing a lot of great things. So today we have invited guests at no expense spared, and we have Des Gamble, who is an educationist. He is also an artist and a creative in his own right as a musician and a maker of great things, and he can say a little bit more about himself. Mario Donoghue, who is again a great friend and a fellow colleague in the Education Authority in Northern Ireland based in Belfast, hard against the tide to make sure that creativity is not left out of the curriculum. Again, another good friend and an artist and musician and inspiration in her own right, Helena Palmer, who is the principal of St Joseph's College here in Enniskillen. Her background is in music and drama, and force to be reckoned with in leading her school and her students and her teachers. And Des's role is to work with the post-primary schools. One of those many roles, the post-primary schools here in this area, they're about 14, 15, and I am refired 3 years from the Education Authority as an arts advisor, and I currently am continuing to work in the arts as an artist, an educator and a curator and an arts activist, and dedicated to celebrating life rather than ending it.
Fantastic. Well, what an introduction. Helena, you're very involved, I believe, in music and drama in the schools, is that right?
Yes, we are, and I suppose it's one of those minority subjects in our schools, but I would have to say that many of our leaders are coming from this creative backgrounds, and I suppose it's maybe because of the way we maybe think a little bit more outside the box than the norm. And I would have to say that yes, I can only ever emphasize the importance that music, drama, art and all those creative subjects have, and the great benefit, especially to the young boys that I teach, but to all the young children, throughout the world, really. And I suppose, especially with those creative subjects, they are almost, lots of children.
Absolutely. I mean, creativity and in education is so important. I feel at moments like this rather unfortunate to come from England. It's been an advantage for centuries, and now I think what seems to have happened is that Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland seem to be working very, very hard and very passionately to embed creativity and community values very much at the heart of their curriculum. I mean, Des, do you have much experience of that in your work?
Yeah, well, I work with all the post-primary schools in Fermanagh, and just this, it's strange that this meeting happened today, because I had written to the Arts Council just last week basically to highlight the fact that there's a great reduction in the number of students that are doing A-level and GCSE art and design. And just to see what they felt about it, because my daughter works in the animation industry in London, and I can see there is a massive need for animators and people who can apply their artistic skills in digital form, so they can sit down with digital platforms and draw out cartoons and produce movies and so on. But we don't have any of that actually being delivered in any of our schools. And I think for art and design and creativity to survive in schools, that we've got to move art into the digital era, and we've got to get kids in properly facilitated rooms that have got digital tablets and so on, that they can use their art expertise and the skills that they have and apply this digitally, so that they can, a lot of these students have the art skills, but they don't have the opportunity then at A-level to go any need for an A-level design. But if that was applied to the animation industry, the job opportunities are immense, and they're always crying out for people. They can't get enough to fill these roles. And I think that's the direction that art and design has to take. It will be expensive, but I think we've got to do it in order to make the subject survive.
It's interesting, isn't it? There was a time when, Noelle introduced herself as an art activist. There was a time when you were a bit of a crazy radical for proposing art and creativity, but now half of it is to say, come on guys, there are jobs here. These are the futures of our young people. This is the future of our economy, without doing a creative art washing job on it per se. This is a viable career pathway. And it's only policymakers and politicians who don't get that seem resistant to it, unless they know something we don't, because I believe it enables people to live a much better and more filling life. And I think our role has to be helping people live a full life. Marie, what are your thoughts around it? Sorry, so go on, Noelle.
Sorry, what I was going to say is that both Mary and I would have a slightly different perception. In the sense that there's been a huge investment. I had the privilege of working with Sir Ken Robinson on the Unlocking Creativity agenda across Northern Ireland. And like Mary, we recognise that investment in the importance of creativity, not just within the arts but across the subjects, was really a significant and important angle, and the whole idea of STEAM as opposed to STEM. The added thing, I think, is that it is the responsibility of all teachers to take on the area of careers, and sometimes our career teachers are not necessarily up to date with what's currently being offered. Our art and design teachers are probably some of the most informed professionals within the staff, in the sense that they have to keep abreast of what's going on. But unfortunately, if there isn't an ethos or a vision or a respect for the subjects of the school, unlike in the context of Helena's, that sometimes can die, and you will find that it varies from school to school. So Mary, I think, is in a very good position to update in terms of what has been happening and what needs to happen. And I think the reality is that those of us that are still passionate and curious and keen find we have to move outside of the system to keep the system working. So Mary, you're
oh God, I was only popping in to say hello, and I could see all of these people here. It's lovely to meet you all. Des, just in relation to your question, I have a daughter who's doing A-level art and A-level moving image at the minute. Moving image is one of our fastest growing A-levels in Northern Ireland, and that would cover your whole animation and all of that, in partnership with, we've got 3 creative learning centres in Northern Ireland. And again, what Noelle is saying about the principal having the vision, but teachers have to take the responsibility too for a lot of their own professional development, the creative industries. But I find that too many of our schools are maybe going down the traditional route, particularly sometimes in the grammar schools, where they're pushing children down still those routes of being a dentist or a doctor or whatever, and children are maybe afraid of taking risks. My program that I'm working with at the minute is Creative Schools program, and that's a joint program between the Arts Council, the executive, and a lovely thing called the Urban Villages and the Education Authority. So we actually link Key Stage 3, 11 to 14 year olds with their community, with an artist, learning, and it's having a huge, we only have 11 schools in the urban villages, in the urban village areas, but I can give you more information regarding that. I've probably run out of steam now, but I get what you're saying totally. But I think it isn't just it's up to the whole community. It's up to the teachers. It's up to us. It's up to everybody to create those opportunities. They don't come and land on your doorstep. It's up to you to go and to fight and to find. The principal is the key person because they have the vision and they can take opportunities when they come. And also, if you're getting teachers who are the driver, then that's where things can start to happen. We've got lots of good artists who are dying to work in schools. They can show us that they can make a difference, but it needs to be a long-term program, not just a drop-in, drop-out, you know. And there are conversations starting around all of that. I've just seen how off my hair is. Does that make sense?
Yes, well, if I can just endorse what actually Mari is saying, out of the Unlocking Creativity strategy, which was a Northern Ireland strategy, which was actually influenced by All Our Futures, Nick, and I know you would be very much aware of that.
Yeah.
And it was an opportunity to review our outdated education system. And so Ken Robinson was a driver behind that. And we had 4 government departments, DE, DATI, DEL, and DCAL, which was the smallest government of communities. And what we did was across all of the 5 education levy boards at the time, with now 1 education authority, we invested with the Arts Council, with the education authorities and the government departments, an investment in putting creatives, across art forms, digital creatives, musicians, singers, songwriters, across our schools and youth settings from the age of, from early years up to the age of 25. Now, we initially got that funding for 3 years. We had 5 development officers and we employed over 150 artists from across the province, including the south of Ireland as well, because of the geographical locations of our schools. That was one of the biggest influences in the decisions that children made, and indeed their teachers. We worked with 90,000 children and young people over that period of time. It influenced how teachers saw creativity, actually helped upskill the artists, and it also provided on-site professional development for teachers in their schools. Now, we had research carried out 2 years ago about careers education, and as you might remember this, we did it across Northern Ireland, and it was led by Derry, Londonderry City of Culture, Context the Region, looking at how the City of Culture had influenced and what sort of legacy there was behind. And Mary's quite right in saying we have 3 creative learning centres, which is a direct outcome of the Unlocking Creativity agenda, placing creatives at the heart of learning in these creative learning centres. Any school, any community, any youth work setting is a community of creative, curious teachers and learners, if you like. But that investment needs to continue. The Creative Youth Partnerships model evolved out of creative partnerships in England. The Urban Villages project, which Mari is ably leading with the Arts Council and the Education Authority, is, if you like, is another child spawned from that context. And to be working with 13 schools is a really, really important investment. But we need to look at a top-down and a bottom-up model where we're investing in our educators in the broadest sense. They're not exclusively our teachers. We've got our learning assistants, our classroom assistants. We have learning opportunities outside of school, within communities. And we also have to invest in the infrastructure that Des is talking about as well. But we are still dealing with outdated systems of careers education where people only know what they experienced. We're also dealing with limitations in professional development opportunities. And yet, in the last 18 months, it is the creativity, the innovation, the technology that has sustained and nourished us through these periods. And we have to look at a blended model of learning where technology plays a key part. I know Des' daughter is working with Disney and doing excellent work. And people would assume that you cannot learn or grow from a small rural school or from an area that's beyond a major city. We have really, really creative, resourceful teachers and students who have an appetite to learn and grow, and we must invest in the systems to support them.
Thank you so much, Noelle. I mean, I think that's your TED Talk. I know you're working on a TED Talk at the moment about something very different, but there's such a wealth of knowledge here, and I can't thank you enough for pulling this together today for me. I mean, I've had the shout from the school. We need to go back live to them now. I'd just like to just show you where we are actually, because I don't know if you realise, but I'm actually in front of this little green screen, in front of all this tech, in the back of a camper van. I'm going to go and show you my camper van. Oh, there's a bit of wire on the floor, so you have to bear with me as I grab my way out. Oops, got my microphone as well. And my GoPro's just shut down. That's just frozen on me. Oh, that's a bit annoying. Is that battery gone? Oh, looks like the battery's gone on my GoPro, but you'll see from we did a live stream this morning with the kids. We're actually in this camper van. Let me see if I can get that up again for a second. It's funny, isn't it, how batteries are great when you look to see how great they are, and then suddenly they're flat before you blink. You'll have to take my word for that. You'll see that on Twitter anyway. So I've got to go now, but I can't thank you enough. Helena, Des, Marie and Noelle. I mean, Noelle, you really are a powerhouse of connectivity. We've got this lovely phrase. Well, I say it's lovely, and I would, wouldn't I? But it's not mine. Seth Godin said. He said that art is what we call it when what we do might connect us to somebody else. And to think that I'm in the back of a camper van outside a primary school with the most serendipitous title, Harmony Hill. There could not have been a better name for the school for us to visit today, as far as I'm concerned, because this is how art connects. Art is that human connectivity that I know we all missed in lockdown, but we brought back one way or another, I know. And I'm going to show you something now rather special, actually, because I'm going to show you a little bit of tech. You talked about some technology and moving image there, but I'm going to show you that we've got a drone above COP26, and this is live and direct, and if you'll believe that, you'll believe anything. But let's face it, we've all got an imagination, so let's make the most of it. There's our cardboard Mars, there's our cardboard Mars base camp, and any moment now that rocket is going to take off to inspire all of you to keep doing incredible work, inspiring, connecting not just children but communities, because as you know, it takes a whole village to inspire a child. So let's launch our rocket. There she goes, up into the sky, 150 foot high cardboard rocket. Elon Musk and his mission to Mars is debatable, it's contentious to some people, I get that, but if we can use everything that we've got at our disposal to inspire our kids to aim high, then I think that's got to be a fairly good thing, don't you? So thank you all for joining me today. I'm going to come back. I'm going to come back for a week and not just 24 hours. So thank you so much.
We'll have to get you up, Dennis Skellin. And I suppose one of the things that we're really keen on is, and I know I'm on a mission of making creativity and compassion contagious during lockdown, and it will be the antidote to COVID, I've no doubt, with the great people that are here today.
Fantastic. Thank you, Marie, Des, Helena and Noelle. Thank you so much. It's been very, very special connecting with you today. I'm going to leave you with this. You know what we all are. We're all born artists. The problem is to remain an artist as we grow up. That was Pablo Picasso. And I think we've got to help our kids, all our kids, aim high in life. Not just high, but higher than high. We've got to help our kids find their passion, their art. So I'm Nick Corsten, I'm just a dad, I'm co-founder of STEAMco. One day maybe I'll be the CEO, I don't know. So STEAMco is a non-profit community enterprise that helps connect our kids with their art and our communities with their schools by running creativity days. And we want to get the whole community involved. We want people who've had kids, not had kids, got kids, whatever, to come and work with us to help us run these days. What inspired me? Well, I saw a talk by Sir Ken Robinson. I read half a book called What's the Point of School? On what we should be teaching our kids. And I went to Camp Bestel, which is really a Glastonbury for kids. And I thought, I want this in my kids' school. I've got a lovely little film my dad gave me of me when I was 1 and him with my first ever train set. And I show that to kids in schools all over the country. And how my dad gave me the greatest gift. He gave me my art. Because art is what we call it when what we do might connect us to somebody else. So art could be painting, it could be photography, it could be cooking, it could be coding, it could be dancing, it could be design, it could be DJing, it could be robots, it could be rockets. The fun, the excitement that we have making and firing rockets in schools is to be seen, to be believed.
This is the best day of my life.
This truck contains everything you need to run a creativity festival in a primary school. 30 coding kits with the BBC Microbit. We've got rocket making kits. We do cardboard challenge. We can do the egg drop. We've got a t-shirt printing machine so we can print I Love Art t-shirts. So the kids design their own logo, take a selfie. We've had thousands of posters of those done. That's with JR, French street artist JR. So we've got communities all over the country designing I Love Art logos, taking photos, and we sent them off to JR and he's printed 1,000 of these off for us, which we're fly posting all over the country. So in lockdown, we got an Arts Council grant and we built a green screen TV studio. We've been live streaming events all summer. We did a 3-day Glastonbury event where we built a half-size pyramid stage from cardboard and code and ran 3-day events. We had Martin and Gary Kemp. We had Glenn Matlock from the Sex Pistols on stage alongside community artists, dads and their kids. And we had a young lad from Leeds called Lenny who played his piano on stage, all virtual. We learnt a lot in lockdown, and as soon as it lifted, we took it out on the road. We built a cardboard Coventry Cathedral, itself optimistically rebuilt after the war, and took it all around the country. With our green screen magic, kids could perform on a stage, and we launched it to inspire them to aim higher than high with their art. Inspired by Elon Musk's vision to take 1 million people to Mars in 30 years, we built a cardboard Mars base camp with a 150-foot tall starship. Now we need people and organisations to collaborate for creativity.
For me, collaboration is everything.
Elton John gave me the greatest gift. Actually, he made a film, I don't know if you saw it, with John Lewis, where basically he tells the story of how he was given a piano as a kid and worked hard and made literally 1 million. I saw that film, ripped it off, put our own subtitles on it, and Elton John retweeted it. It had 50,000 views in an hour, and I went on a 2-week UK tour from Cornwall all the way to Carlisle, showing that film, showing my train set film, talking to kids about art and creativity, letting off rockets, and inspiring schools across the country in our 12 days of Creative Christmas tour.
You've inspired one little boy in particular, a very quiet boy, and as that rocket shot into the air, we heard the words blast off come out of his mouth.
Innovation, technology and dreams rocketing up to the sky.
The state education system, we have a lot of people feel it's been narrowed and narrowed and narrowed, focusing on teaching and testing of highly academic subjects, which are important, which are right for some kids, but it's not for everybody. And some kids come out of the education system literally broken. 9 out of 10 schools in Britain have reported cutting the arts in some way or another, which is a real tragedy. And we're going to lose that cutting-edge creativity that made Britain so famous. Creativity is Great Britain, after all. The ideal future for me would be a whole load of these trucks on the road with passionate, enthusiastic, committed, creative people, helping connect kids with their art and communities with their schools all the way across the UK. As Albert Einstein said, imagination can take us anywhere. Thank you all so much. I'm afraid I've got to go make rockets with 90 children now, so please bear with me. Thank you so much. It's been lovely. I've got to go. Sorry. Bye.
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 Folks, thank you very much. I know it was very
I would
short
like
notice.
to have steam.
Hello, hello, hello. Who's here today? I can see people there. Let me just see why I can't see everybody. We've got cameras on. Just check everybody's here. Oh. Great, thank you. Right, I'd quite like to see somebody if I can, or get an indication that people are here. I've got Gaffikin and Sterling at the moment. I can't see much more than that. Let's put that in there. Put that in there. So I'm a bit short of people. This looks like it's the same link as... Oh, sorry, that was my bad. I didn't have your audio on. Hello. Gosh, it sounds like you strangled a cat there. It sounds as if you strangled a cat. That's better. So is everybody here now? I'm waiting for one more class, I think. Or is everybody here?
Two more class.
Is Neil here?
No, can you hear me?
Who's this?
Mr. Sterling.
Mr. Sterling, I can hear you. I can't see you. Have you got a camera on?
I can't get my camera on. Sorry, I don't know what's the P Sterling. That's us. There's the two other classes aren't on yet, Nick.
Okay.
So let's see who's actually starting the video. I've tried trying before to get it on. What's happening there?
It looks like it's trying now. Oh, it's gone. I've got a no.
So we've just had a kit arrived, delivered here.
Oh, a rocket kit.
Just had our rocket kit delivered down, and I think other classes will be getting theirs now.
Okay. Did you see this?
I'll give the guys a call here and see what stage they're at. Hold on. Me or Nick? Well, Nick wants to talk to you, so. How's it going, Nick? Yes, we're on here. Just wondering what stage you're at. Nick is on here. There's just me at the minute. Just go back into the. I went back into the email and clicked the same link. All right.
Hi, Nick.
Hello. Hello, hello, hello.
All right, no worries. Mr. McDowell should be coming now, Nick, and I'll ring Mr. Hyman here.
Okie dokie. Hello, guys.
I just went back into the same link from the first email. Just trying to get these on here. Sorry, but guys, can you just sit quietly, please? And certainly no banging the desks there. Still can't get any video to play there. So you're trying to get in there anyway. No worries. I'll see you shortly.
Oh, here he is. I think everybody's here now.
So do you want to write down the rules? Alright, thank you. What was... Thank you. That's Mr. McDowell up there. That's not Mr. Nick.
So are we all ready? Are we ready to go?
Okay. Thank you. No worries.
Are we ready to go, Mr. Yes? Okay, we'll go, yeah? Can you all mute your microphones, please? Great stuff. Can you mute and then I can start? If you mute your microphones, then I can start. That's good. Okay, that's great. I think we're all ready to go here. We are ready to go. I think you're all listening. You're all with me. That's good. I'm just going to set this up here and we're going to record this. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to our Mission to Mars session. In this session, in 5 minutes, I'm going to tell you how to make a rocket. And then we're going to come outside and fire some of them really, really high, and you won't believe how high they fly. Now, there are 3 stages to making a rocket, as I'm sure you can imagine, because rockets come in 3 parts. The first part of the rocket, let me see if I can find you a picture of a rocket. That should be good, wouldn't it? There you go. 3 stages: the body, then the nose, and then the fins. And you're all going to get a set of instructions just like this. And the instructions have the 3 parts of the rocket. So making the body, making the nose, making the fins. So the first thing you need to make the body is a piece of plastic pipe like this and a piece of scrap A4 paper like this. And what we do is we roll the paper around the pipe like this, not too tight, not too loose. You've got to make sure that you can take the pipe out. You've got to make sure you can take the pipe out. I'm going to find a slightly better video of me. Give me full screen. Let me have a look. Let's go back to that like that. And let's put that like that. And let's come up here like that. Okay. So we've then got to get some masking tape. This is my masking tape here. This is quite good tape to use for making rockets. Now don't bother pulling it or use scissors, just rip it like that. So rip like that, rip like that, and rip some pieces ready. And we seal up the body of the rocket like that. Okay, so I seal up that edge so there's no air can escape. Now I've got a gap at each end. I need to seal those gaps up as well. Now this is one thing you want to be very careful you don't do. This is the only thing today that's a fail. Can you see how that piece of tape is a bit long there? It's a bit long. Now, if I stick it like that, that is an epic fail because the tape is now stuck to the pipe. That's no good, is it? Oh, it's nice to see me on the screen there. So if you could take a couple of photos of me on your big screen, that'd be great. Maybe over the back of some people's head. If that happens, don't stick your pipe to the tube. Just pull it down and just rip it off like that. Okay, so now, because we've got to be able to slide the pipe in and out of the tube, and I'm going to seal the other end up as well. So I seal the other end up like that. Okay, so I've sealed it all the way along there, and that's nice and strong. I can slide the pipe in and out. If you take it out, great, but be very careful putting it back in because you don't want to be able, you will always want to be able to do that. The next thing you need to do is to cut your nose cone shape, and that looks a little bit like this. So there's a shape just up here that you cut out. You see that over there? You cut that out, and I'm just going to cut it out by sight here, but it's roughly this sort of shape like this, because I haven't got one of those sheets here, believe it or not. And there we go. So I've cut that out. It's like a little castle on top of a hill, and you need to roll it up to make a cone, to make a nose cone. Now that's not a cone, is it? That's a tube. That's no good. That's not pointed. We need to make a little cone like this. And if you look, you'll see I've made a nice nose cone. You see, so that's like a witch's hat nose cone. I need to seal along that edge to make sure it doesn't fall apart. And if you want your rocket to go really high, you need to seal up the end of it as well. So get a piece of tape and stick that on the end and seal that up so it's all sealed up nicely. So that's really strong. Now, if you want your rocket to go really, really high, you're going to need maximum air pressure. And the pump that I've got can blow a hole in a piece of paper. I'm not going to show you that now because we're rushing to get this through so you can start making your own. The most important thing to do is to stuff your nose cone full of paper, and I mean full. Not half empty or not half full, although some people think that's the same thing, but I think half empty is a negative mindset, and in fact you should really be using a positive mindset in things. So stuff the nose cone as full of paper as you can, fill it so it's really hard and heavy, and that will make your rocket go high. And then you see the two little fins that we've got there, the little tabs, they go either side of the rocket like that, and then I can tape the rocket nose on. using a bit more tape, like this. Now somebody will make, I know a few of you will make rockets today and the nose will fly off because you won't have stuck it on properly. Make sure you stick it on really tight, really squeeze it. And here's a top tip for you, look. Do it diagonally, so go up like that and then back down like that, okay? And squeeze that, and that's not coming off. That's a really good one. To make the fins, you get your instruction sheet, and you'll see that there are 8 lines marked on the instruction sheet, which is the same as folding the sheet in half, and in half again, like that. So those, and when I unfold this, I'm going to get 8 fins. I only want 3, so I've got 8 folds on there. I fold, I cut this like this. Okay, so there's one of my fin pieces of paper. Fold it to make a V, so a V shape. Queen Victoria did the V&A Museum where we were in Dundee the other day. And now forget V, think of T. T for Tommy, T for Thomas, T for tiny, T for tab. So you want tiny little tabs here that you can put 2 pieces of tape on to stick your fin to your rocket, like this. Okay, so like that. So 2 pieces of tape on the rocket body, on the fin, and now we can stick that to the body like that, and I've now got a fin. We don't want air going in that hole there. Any air going in that hole is going to rip the fin off and slow the rocket down. So, oh, where did I put my scissors? There they are. So maybe trim that off to make it nice and streamlined, and put a piece of tape over that front edge like that. And there's your fin. Now you want 3 fins, maybe 4, and that rocket will go really, really high because I've sealed all the edges. I made a heavy nose, I stuffed it with paper. I stuck it on really well. I've made 3 fins, 1, 2, 3, and you seal up that leading edge. And then as long as you can take the pipe out, you take the pipe out and bring it to us in the playground, and we'll fire them on our compressed air system. And believe it or not, at 2:30, we're going to fire a dynamite rocket as well for you to show you how high you can fly with your art and with your creativity. So that is how to make a rocket. I hope that's clear for you all. I hope everybody's happy with that. Any questions, just shout out. You could decorate your rocket if you've got any sticky tape. I don't know if you've got any sticky tape here today, and then you can fire it. Okay, so we've now got about half an hour for you to make rockets, and if you can come out at 2:15 to me in the playground, we'll fire them with our high pressure system, and then as I say, at 2:30 the whole school, or lots of boys and girls, are going to come out, and we're going to fire a big proper rocket as well. Okay, I'm going to leave you to it now, guys. Have a great time making rockets. I may come into the school if Mr. McDowell can let me come in. I'd come in and see how you're getting on, put my mask on and come and have a look if that's possible. So Mr. McDowell can organise that possibly. That's a thumbs up, brilliant. That's great. Okay, let's get Mr. McDowell back up on the screen. Where is he? There he is. Oh, he's gone. Hello, Mr. McDowell. There you are on the screen there. Put your microphone on, sir. He's head of IT. That means his microphone won't work.
Well, can you hear me?
I can hear you, sir. How was that? Was that any use?
That's me. That's me. Yeah, it's got my little webcam. Thank you very much, Nick. Great instructions. We are going to try and get these made. We'll get back out to you in hopefully at 2:15.
Okay.
Stuff the head, keep it tight, no drag. So I think we've got a good idea.
Fantastic. So if you can come down and grab me in about 15 minutes, sir, and bring me up, I'd love to see how the kids are getting on, if that's okay.
I'll see you in 15 minutes.
Perfect. And I'll keep telling some stories while we're doing that as well, but you can crack on with that. I'd suggest they make them 1 between 3, sir.
1 between 3?
So one person does the body, one does the fins, and one does the nose, and then they will guarantee getting a rocket then, hopefully. Okay.
Spot on. We'll do that. We'll do that.
Brilliant.
Lovely. Thanks, Nick.
Thanks, sir. Yeah. Well, that's fantastic. It's good to know that everybody's all primed and ready to go with their rocket making there. It's interesting actually because I'll tell you a little story actually about me and rockets and all this sort of stuff, because my dad gave me the greatest gift. I said earlier when I was chatting to the parents that the greatest gift you can give a child is the 3 greatest gifts actually is some of your time, some stories, and their art. And their art could be painting, photography, cooking, coding, robots, rockets, whatever it is that young people are passionate about. And this is a film, believe it or not, of me when I was 1 with my first ever train set. And you'll see how my dad showed me how to make a bridge, not just using my arm, not just using my hand, but most importantly, using my imagination. My dad gave me my art. I was inspired. I became an engineer. I went to university. I studied engineering. I love making things all the time. My dad gave me some time to play with me, to make with me, to read with me. I'm reading stories, making stories. And by giving me that book of stories, he helped me tell a story that I'm going to tell you today about. It's one of the most amazing things that's ever happened to me. My dad gave me my art of connection, my art of making, my art of engineering, my art of cardboard, my art of rockets. And I travel all over the country seeing boys and girls with I Love Art logos. And I believe that these templates have been given out in the school today. And if you want to print some of those off, we can get some of those printed onto T-shirts and we can send those back to you. We could probably do 6 for free actually for the school, or for a little bit of, if anybody can make a donation, we can pay for those for you. But it's all about asking yourself, what's your art? What is it that's going to help you make some money? What is it that's going to help you make some friends? And what is it in life that's going to help you do what you can to make the world a better place? And that's really what, as far as I'm concerned, Elon Musk, people like Elton John, these artists, these creatives have done. And that's why I'm on a mission to Mars. In the camper van here with Malumba, we're traveling around the UK. We're doing a 2-week tour of the whole of Britain, showing people how to make rockets, fire rockets, and telling the story of Elon Musk. And also, as I say, this book that my dad found in the Oxfam bookshop that he volunteers in. A book about 4 boys who didn't want to be coal miners, who looked to the sky and were inspired. The film of the book actually is called October Sky. And interestingly enough, if you look at Rocket Boys, the name of the book, and you jumble those letters up, October Rosie, October Ezzy, it becomes October Sky. It's an anagram. Because those 4 boys grew up in America in a little town called Colwood in 1957. And they didn't want to be coal miners. And the other dot over there you can see on the UK is actually Newcastle, which is the coal mining capital of Britain. They didn't want to be coal miners, and they looked up in the sky one October evening, and this is what they saw. They literally saw the world's first satellite, the Sputnik satellite, flying through the October sky night, and it inspired them. It was the world's first satellite, as I said, and it made all the newspapers because America had been beaten to space by the Russians. And Homer and his friends had an idea. They thought, let's learn to make rockets. They learned about forces from their teacher in a book about how forces one way are always opposed by a force in the other direction. For every force one direction, there is an equal opposite force back. That's actually called Newton's third law of motion. And if you flip that around 90 degrees, that's how rockets work. Rockets generate a force by emitting fuel. It could be petrol, it could be water, it could be air, and they push back against the Earth. The Earth pushes back, but the Earth's certainly not going to move, so the rocket moves because the force is not in balance. All the time, that rocket, let's get that rocket back here, the rocket all the time is being pushed up by thrust and the amount of time that we have that thrust for, and all the time pulling down is gravity and the weight of the rocket. Homer Hickam's first rocket crashed into his mum's fence and blew it down, and she wasn't very happy about that, as I'm sure you can imagine. The second one crashed into the coal mine where his dad was the boss, and he clipped him around the ear and said, get back to school, forget all this rocket nonsense. But Homer didn't give up. He went to his teacher, and she said, Homer, if you want to learn to make rockets, here's a book. And he read that book and learned how rockets work, and a year later, those 4 boys made a rocket that literally went 6 miles high in the sky. And inspired by him and inspired by Elton John with his sons and his husband, I wrote this book, Rocket Kid Stories, 9 short stories about amazing people who have inspired over the years. Homer Hickam with his story and his Rocket Boy story. Dr. Helen Sharman, the first British person in space, was in fact a woman, Helen Sharman. The Mary Jackson, the Hidden Figures, the women of colour who did all the maths for the Apollo programme. And this amazing dad here, Jared Isaacman, of the Inspiration 4 mission, the first dad, the first non-military, the first civilian crewed mission to space, Chris Brodsky, Haley Arcano, and my favourite, well, it's my favourite, but somebody who I find really fascinating, Dr. Cyan Proctor, who is an artist and poet. And they went to space on the Inspiration 4 SpaceX mission, and they've sponsored me to be here today to tell you this story. and to inspire you to aim not just high, but to keep aiming higher than high, so that maybe one day you'll end up going to Mars, or going to work, or going to do whatever you want to do, whatever you feel your mission is. And today, as I said, we've got a range of activities. I've shown you the art of cardboard. In fact, I don't know if I have. Let me show you this. This is really cool. I'm delighted to say, I'm so grateful to your head teacher. Really am very, very grateful to her for allowing us into the school today, and for allowing me to work with you at very short notice. And it really is very, very special. And I just want to say that we're working with an amazing product here, which I'd just like to show you now, which you can use to build cardboard models. It's a thing called Make Do. And basically, it consists of these tiny little blue screws. And I want to show you how to make anything you want out of cardboard and cardboard boxes. And I had a piece of cardboard, here it is. So here's a little piece of cardboard. Zoom in on me. And I've got these special cardboard tools, and the first one is a cardboard saw. So using this cardboard saw, anybody from the age of 2 up can saw cardboard. My favourite tool is this one here, because it's got little wheels on it and it can be used to perforate cardboard. So I run it down there like that. Oops, let me do that. I'm running out of hands here. Do that like that. And it makes these little perforated lines that I can then fold the cardboard on nice and easily. And if I wanted to fix that corner, I get the screwdriver one, and this is the screwdriver. And the screwdriver's got a point on the end like that, and I can make a hole in the cardboard using the screwdriver like that, and a hole in the cardboard there like that. And I put the screw in the hole and I screw it with the screwdriver, and these are really just screws for screwing things together from cardboard. It really is fantastic. And I'm going to give a set. This is a special school set. This is usually £100, this set, and it's for a whole class. And I'm going to give this to Mr. McDonald and your head teacher today to inspire you and to thank you all for being so supportive. And I want to see some amazing things that you make with that from cardboard. I'll show you something here actually, which I'd love to see you make. You could actually make a real, well, I say real, you could actually make something that looks like a cardboard model of Mars. Let me just show you what that looks like. That is there, look, check that out. That is called a wind ball, and you'll recognize that because that is the same shape as the object we built up in Glasgow for the COP26. That is a cardboard Mars wind ball, and you need 30 sheets of identical size cardboard. So maybe next week, if you have any time in your busy school week, you can all get yourself a cardboard box and cut up 30 squares and make your own cardboard wind ball from that like that. That'd be absolutely fantastic, wouldn't it? So that's what we're talking about today, and that's the Make Do system. And the other thing that's part of your mission today, of course, is making rockets, as we've been doing. And if you wanted us to ever come back, we can do a whole range of different things. So for example, we could also, I don't know if you've done any coding, but there's a thing called the BBC Microbit, which we could teach you to code. It's a £12 computer, which is fantastic. And of course, the rockets that you're making today. So I'm going to wrap that up now, and hopefully we'll see you down in the playground later on. Got some people in the playground. I don't know if these are parents come for people, but we're going to be launching a rocket at home time and having a fantastic time. So thank you so much for joining on here. I'll go back to the Zoom call now. So if anybody does need to speak to me, I'll be able to hear you. And I'll put the Zoom back up on the screen as well, so I can see you as well. Oops, somebody's in the waiting room. Who's in the waiting room? Mr. McDowell, can you speak to me?